We usually use hundreds of brushes in our artwork, but what if we use just one brush from start to finish? Will I be able to complete an entire artwork using only a single brush? And if I do, will the final result be better or worse than my usual artworks? Believe me, this was one of the most exciting and at the same time, most frustrating challenges I've ever tried. So without wasting any more time, let's start the video and I'll show you this one brush challenge. So first, we start by finding a good reference on Pinterest. For this artwork, I chose a reference of Al Pacino from the movie Insomnia. I'll be using this image as a basic guide throughout my entire process. It helps me understand the face structure, lighting, and overall mood of the artwork, so I can stay consistent from start to finish. The main rule of this challenge is simple. This single brush will be used from start to finish, for sketching, shading, blending, and final details. No texture brushes, no special effects. Just one basic round brush and full control over pressure and opacity. This really pushes me to understand values, edges, and form, instead of relying on multiple brushes to fix mistakes. Honestly, this challenge is both exciting and frustrating, because every stroke matters and there's no shortcut. By the end of this artwork, we'll find out whether using just one brush can create a result that's better, worse, or completely different from my usual work. So for this challenge, I'll be using a custom round brush, because it's a brush that's already available in almost every software. I've made a few small customizations to this brush based on my personal preference. First, I'll use this brush to roughly mark out a loose sketch, just to get a clear idea of the overall composition. After that, I'll lightly erase the loose sketch and reduce its opacity. Then I'll move on to a new layer and start working on a detailed sketch, focusing on proportions, the eye area, eye shapes, the mouth, and other important facial features to get a better understanding of the structure. Because of the lack of gesture flexibility in this challenge, I had to rely heavily on the lasso tool this time. Honestly, I don't think I've ever used the lasso tool this much in any of my previous digital artworks. Selecting and controlling specific areas became extremely helpful, especially for refining shapes, fixing proportions, and maintaining clean edges while working with just one brush. Working with just one brush gave the entire process a very traditional art-like feeling. This time, we were in a situation where everything had to be done using only one texture. Just like in traditional art, where you work with a single pencil or a single pen. In traditional mediums, you usually have a hard-edge tool, which means most of the lines you draw are sharp and controlled. I felt that exact same limitation during this challenge. There were no different brushes for leaves, no separate brushes for water or walls, no specific hair texture brush, and even the skin felt very raw and general, just like traditional sketching or painting. And honestly, I really enjoyed this process. I haven't done traditional art in a long time, so this challenge pushed me out of my comfort zone and made the entire workflow feel refreshing and creatively challenging from start to finish. The main aim of today's challenge was to show people how little brushes actually matter when it comes to creating good art. Even in my regular workflow, if someone asks me honestly, I work with very few brushes. I'm not the kind of person who needs one brush for leaves, a different brush for skin, and another one just for hair. Personally, I find that approach very annoying. I strongly believe that instead of depending on tools, we should focus on developing our skills and really understanding the fundamentals. If tomorrow someone takes away my digital setup and hands me just a pen and paper, I should still be able to draw at the same level. These days, I often see comments where people say, "I don't have those brushes," or "I can't do this because I don't have that tool." And yes, I agree, brushes can definitely help you at a more advanced stage, but relying on them too heavily is not something I personally agree with. This is just my opinion. Some artists like to use every opportunity and tool available, and that's completely fine, but I'm just not that kind of artist. In my regular workflow, I usually work with just two brushes. One is my round brush, and the other is a soft edge brush. With these two brushes alone, I'm able to achieve most of the results I need. I do keep 2 or 3 extra brushes, but I only use them after the entire artwork is almost finished. Those brushes are mainly for adding small highlights or very subtle details. Nothing major. Think of it like the cherry on top of a cake. The main structure, form, and rendering are all done using just those two basic brushes. Because of my regular habits, I kept instinctively reaching for other brushes, especially while working with pressure control. But every time, I had to remind myself that this was a challenge, and I couldn't break that rule. At times, this was definitely frustrating, but at the same time, I'd also say it was surprisingly refreshing, and honestly, a lot of fun. In the beginning, the challenge felt a bit annoying, but the way it pushed me out of my comfort zone made the entire experience completely different. That feeling of being uncomfortable, learning, and adapting throughout the process is what made this challenge truly worth it. I've seen many artists on social media who have thousands of brushes, and I'm not even kidding, guys. And all the time, I keep thinking, how do they manage all of that? I'm not criticizing anyone. Everyone has their own needs and workflow. But personally, if someone asks me, I prefer to work with minimal tools because it helps me stay organized and really understand what I'm doing. It's like the saying goes, instead of learning 1,000 moves once, it's better to practice one move 1,000 times. That's why I stick to very few brushes. It really helps me develop my skills. And honestly, the main aim of this video is to tell you, if you're watching this and thinking your art isn't working because of your brushes, I think that's not the real problem. Sure, having different brushes can make a slight difference, maybe 10 to 20%, but I wouldn't say it's ever the main reason. Relying completely on brushes isn't the solution. Focusing on your skills, practice, and understanding is what really matters. If you haven't gotten bored yet, I hope you found this video both fun and entertaining. If you did, you can show your support for my efforts by hitting the like button or subscribing to my channel. Honestly, it makes me genuinely happy to create more content like this, knowing that people are watching, enjoying, and learning from it. Moments like these give me a deep sense of satisfaction and keep me motivated to make even better videos. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video on any specific topic. If you're facing any problem in your digital art journey or creative life, I can make a tutorial to help you out. Or if there's any challenge you want me to try, just leave a comment and I'll definitely consider it for my next video. Back to the topic, this is basically how my digital artwork turned out. And here's my honest review of the challenge. I'll be honest, at the start, this challenge was really annoying for me. I kept instinctively reaching for my old brushes, wanting to use extra brushes out of habit. But by the end, I got really comfortable with the challenge. I actually thought it would take much longer than usual. Normally, I finish my artwork in about an hour, but I thought this one might take 2 to 3 hours. And I was completely wrong. It still only took an hour. I was honestly a little shocked, because usually challenges like this feel really hard. I could exaggerate things if I wanted, but I want to stay honest, it wasn't super hard. But it also wasn't exactly easy. The start was definitely frustrating, but as I adapted, it became fun and engaging. It pushed me out of my comfort zone. And honestly, now I feel like trying more challenges like this. The main point of this video was to show people that you shouldn't depend too much on brushes. I'm not saying that anyone shouldn't use brushes. That's completely wrong. Use whatever brushes you like. But personally, I don't think you need a specific brush for everything. 2 or 3 brushes are enough to make your workflow easier, without overcomplicating things or making it annoying. The real focus should be on developing your skills, not on having every single tool available. That's just my personal review. I'm sharing my thoughts with my audience. If anyone disagrees, that's totally fine. And I'm sorry if it feels wrong to anyone, but I just wanted to be honest about my experience. If you want to use brushes, that's completely fine, especially if you're aiming to become a professional artist, or if you're a freelancer taking projects from clients. Then of course, using brushes is important and necessary. Honestly, if you have brushes and the opportunity to use them, it would almost be foolish not to. But here's the thing, this is just my personal opinion. Everyone can have their own viewpoint on this topic, and that's totally okay. Personally, I prefer to work with minimal brushes, because it helps me focus on my skills, control, and understanding rather than relying on tools. Using fewer brushes forces you to adapt, think creatively, and solve problems in ways that having a huge variety of brushes wouldn't make you do. That doesn't mean brushes aren't helpful. They absolutely are. They can speed up your workflow, add textures, and give your artwork a professional edge. But depending too heavily on them in my opinion, can make your work tool dependent, rather than skill dependent. So, use brushes if you need them. There's nothing wrong with that. But also remember that developing your core skills, understanding form, value, proportion, and composition, will always matter more than any brush you own. Again, this is my personal take. Everyone has their own preferences and workflow, and that's what makes art so diverse and interesting. That's it for this one brush challenge. I really hope you enjoyed watching not just the final artwork, but also the process, my struggles, and my honest thoughts about working with just one brush. If you liked this video, do me a huge favor and hit the like button and subscribe. It really motivates me to make more content like this, and it keeps me going. And here's something I really want to tell you. If you want to take your digital art skills to the next level, you absolutely need to check out my video on how I go through my digital art process. In that video, I break down everything step by step, from loose sketches, marking proportions, detailing, shading, all the way to the final touches. You'll get to see exactly how I approach a digital artwork, how I make decisions at every stage, and how I overcome common mistakes that almost every beginner makes. Honestly, if you're serious about improving your digital art, this is the video you cannot skip. Watching it will give you a much better understanding of workflow, efficiency, and technique, and it might even change the way you approach your own artwork forever. So go check it out. I promise it's going to be worth your time.